Saxena is a product manager with over 6 years of experience, including a notable stint at Flipkart, driving e-commerce growth. He specializes in startup scaling and has developed a B2B SaaS solution while advising multiple startups. I would also like to invite our fellow panelists, Mr. Amit Saxena, Head of Learning and Development at Compass Group, Mr. Nishant Gulsia, Head of Learning and Organization Development at CK Birla Hospital, and Mr. Jitendra Pal Singh, Group Head of HR at Gross Tools.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Fireside chat. Today I'm joined with a very elite group of L&D experts from the country. We have with us Mr. Amit Saxena, who is the Head of Learning and Development at Compass Group, has over 25 years of experience in learning and development across the ESR and food and hospitality space. We are also joined with Mr. Nishant Gulasia, who is the Head of Learning and Organization Development at CK Birla Hospital, with over 18 years of experience in the L&D space across various aviation organizations as well. And we are also joined with Mr. Jitendra Pal Singh, the Group Head HR at Gross Tools, with over 30 years of experience in L&D and HR practices across automotive and manufacturing space. I welcome you all today. Really pleased to be here. I currently lead the skilling product at Better Place. We have been working with Frontline workforce of India for a really long time. We have skilled more than 1.5 million workers in the span of the past 3 years. And the topic of the chat today arises from an observation that I've been able to notice recently. So, traditional learning solutions, the way that they have been going, they were very methodical, they were very standard, there was no innovation that was coming in. And suddenly we are seeing a shift of a lot of new age learning solutions coming in, which are more and more moving towards the concept of workforce enablement and not just learning as a separate ecosystem. And when I talk about enablement, we are talking about content that is curated for a personalized role, for a personalized employee also, in their languages, with that context. We are talking about interfaces which are easy to use, which don't overwhelm you with a lot of information. We are talking about learning which is linked to your performance, which is linked to your matrix, which is linked to how you're doing at your work and is contextual in nature. It is not just that you come to your job, you learn these 5 things and you go, right? It shows that we are moving towards a place where we care about development. We also understand the challenges of attrition and the way that development plays a role in somebody valuing an organization. When we show that we care about your development and about your growth, employees also revert back with that sort of loyalty, with that sort of effort in those practices. So with that introduction on the topic, I would love to get your thoughts on some of the questions that we have today. So the first question is to Mr. Amit Saxena. What are the emerging trends shaping the future of frontline workforce enablement and upskilling? How do you see this particular industry growing? What are the top trends that you're noticing?
So thank you, and I love to be here and presenting my thoughts on this. So I come from a UK multinational, and it has presence in 40 countries. Compass Group India is having 32,000 people, and we are growing with the CAGR of 40%. So you can understand, and it's a very bottom-heavy organization. When I say bottom-heavy organization, means that we are adding more frontline team members every month. So we are hiring almost 1,500 to 2,000 people every month. And now you can understand, skilling those people. If you see, the scenario has literally changed around us. One is that when COVID hit us, we have found out that a lot of frontline team members who were there in the metros have moved, back to their native places, and getting a skilled manpower is a big challenge currently. Now there's a challenge for the L&D team, how we can function, ensuring that you have to skill the people faster, and you have to skill them with the new skills. Now the other thing which is also changing is the technology is also changing. And it is changing at a very faster, rapid pace. Now, these changes are putting more challenges to the L&D team, how we can skill the people who are working into various geographies, who don't understand the language like Hindi or English, and you have to train them, and you have to skill them. So as we know, giving just knowledge is easier than, skilling the people. And then what the technology can help us in doing this is easier to say, but really when you implement on the ground, you find that, these people, they are not very tech savvy. And now you want to train them. So you may put the system in the company, but hardly people use that. So how you can enable this? So what I realized is that technology and your L&D strategies and systems work parallel with each other. They cannot be in isolation. Technology cannot be a solution for skilling people. Your system should have those abilities so that we can skill the people, and the technology can be enabler in that. So one thing in terms of enabling people is connecting the people, their skilling with their own career journeys. It becomes easier for you to have a motivation for them. So if you do this, in next 6 months, this is what you will get. And that becomes a motivator for them, that the reason why I should get myself skilled. There should be a very important reason for them to skill themselves. So one is that creating an environment where people get connected with their career building in the organization. The second emerging trend is that how I can make it a continuous learning for them. So what we did in Compass, we created buddy trainer program. Now we have almost 900 buddy trainers who are the people who are little senior and the frontline team members, and they have been trained to train others by the L&D team. And then they are the torchbearer for the L&D. So you are taking training from your department to on the ground through this buddy trainer program. So, and it helps us to have a continuous learning for them on daily basis, and you are skilling them through the senior people in the system. The third thing is we have also introduced the app, learning app, and I have seen that, with 32,000 people, 28,000 people are using that app. So that means the adaptability is much higher. That means the people want to use technology, but you have to create a content which is relevant for them. So I think creating an ecosystem which connect all the dots for the people becomes easier for them to build their skills. And that's what I believe what we are doing it right now.
Absolutely, and I think some very relevant points said, how do we make it more accessible for learning to reach them, and how do we use technology as an enabler and incorporate newer methods of reaching out to those. So on that, my next question is to Mr. Jitendra Pal Singh. How do organizations ensure that frontline workers have access to relevant training and development programs? How do we ensure that the right content and the right programs reach the right people?
Thank you, Anuj, and thank you, panel members, for having me here. Interesting to share my thoughts with this August group. Just let me remind you, let me take you back to my MBA days. We had a subject called labor economics. I still don't see any relevance, maybe it is there, of that subject in my MBA curriculum. Somehow, since it was part of the university curriculum, it was there and it was covered. So similarly, I think so when I extend the analogy same to the blue-collar workforce, initially we had people put on a standardized training module of certain topics which we felt were relevant, and we thought safety, basic manufacturing process, this should be what they should be exposed to. But gradually, I think so over a period of time, we realized that the training program should be relevant and precise to their learning needs. And one of the factors, what we did, in fact, in my manufacturing journey, since I largely worked with manufacturing companies, and as there's also a challenge of high attrition for the frontline workforce, blue-collar workforce, it becomes very imperative that they learn at a very faster rate, and the access to them is at a faster rate, so they are able to grasp the new things of the processes. So what we did, I think so to make it more relevant and accessible, technology helped us to an extent. in terms of digitalization, developing some video-based modules, some concepts, what we call Ustadji, where one master trainer picks up few of the people and trains them. So I think so that model worked well for us. And we were able to scale up and ensure that those specific skills which were required at different manufacturing processes reach those levels. So I think so that worked well for us. And I think so the learning is, unless it is specified and given access to all, it won't become meaningful and productive for the blue collar workforce.
Right. So, Nishant, I would also like to ask your thoughts on the same topic.
Sure, Anuj. Good afternoon, everyone. I come, or I'm part of the group which is there in the industry for 160 years, CK Birla Group. It's the same Birla legacy. So the DNA of our organization, I think, is so strong when it comes to developing people, because that is what kept us going for these 160 years. And what we are doing in this new business vertical of the group is, when we talk about the, your question of how or what should an organization do to give access to the frontline, to the relevant content to the frontliners, is we have a mix of platforms. It is not only e-learning that we focus on, and not only the ILT or the classroom sessions, but we also have included a different part of e-learning. It's not self-paced, but through EDMs. So we have a rhythm of weekly and monthly and fortnightly EDMs based on various themes, be it compliance training or be it the process training. So we do it through the EDMs also. And that reaches out to even the last person in the line through WhatsApp. So WhatsApp and other social media platforms being most used, I believe we are able to reach out to the even last person in the line. That's what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a very interesting insight over there is we were using SMS primarily to communicate for app installs, for sending that a course has been distributed. And when we moved on to WhatsApp, the app read rate, the SMS read rate was around 8% and WhatsApp read rate is around 75, 76%. So that's a massive jump in terms of accessibility right there, right? So I think the core thought there is how do we take the technology to them in their work, like you were saying, where they are working in their context, and to their devices, to the places where they are, instead of forcing them to come at a different space and push certain things on them.
Sorry, if you allow me just a couple of seconds. What is more important also, as Mr. Singh said, relevance of the content. So what we are focusing through these EDMs and all, it's the real life examples that are happening on the ground. So our trainers, our training team is out there. They keep on capturing these moments. And whatever instance comes up to us, for example, if there is something which is breach of code of conduct, so through those comic strips and EDMs, we ensure that we pass on the message to the team in a format where they would understand what is right behavior and what is to be followed. So micro-learning is what the theme is.
Thank you so much. Amitji, I have another question for you. How can organizations leverage technology to provide continuous learning opportunities for?
So what we did, when we were not having the LMS system in place, it was very difficult for us to train the people. So one challenge was that any change in the content, it takes ages for you to reach to the last mile. And then secondly, there's a lag of all reports coming in. And then you have only very few languages in which the content was available. What technology has done for us is that since the people are using it, what we created is we created a very interesting content creation. So we call it our induction program Shubharam. And that Shubharam is actually a movie. It's a story of a new joiner in Compass. And when a new joiner comes in Compass, he has many questions in his mind. And that module talks about how we are answering that question to that person in the movie form. So it becomes very interesting for people of creating a content which is in a storytelling mode. in most of the content which we have created of Frontline, we have never done, even a process training is in a storytelling mode. So it talks about, if you want to tell the people about, how you should check the quality of, receiving, it starts with its own example of, when I go and buy vegetables from the market, I realize that, that sabji wala is giving me the wrong quality of, and then when I spoke to him and I ensure that I will not, so while I check is another process, and then he starts with the process. So this storytelling is one of the ways to do it. And secondly, we also realize that micro learning, which is creating the content which is not more than 3 to 5 minutes video content. And that video content should be relevant to people. So what we have also done, we created various cohorts. And these cohorts are basis the job they do, and then the content is created based on the 70-20-10 methodology which we follow, which is 10% only through the technology. The technology is giving only the 10% of the part, while it is tracking the 20% of the part which somebody is imparting the training, and then keeping the attendance of that person. The 70% is happening on the job. So we follow that, but the technology is helping in all the three elements in the different form altogether. So that is another way we are using, leveraging technology, by which we are creating a micro content. We are creating personalized content also. So we also very sensitive about the inclusivity, about the diversity of the people working in the multilingual. So like you check a Netflix, on Netflix you want to see a movie in Hindi or in Telugu or Tamil, our content is also can be chosen into different languages. So if I want to see a Shubharam in Hindi, I can choose Hindi as a language and start playing in Hindi. If I want to choose the Shubharam into Telugu, Tamil and Kannada, it's available for the people. So when the language is relevant for the users, it becomes easier for you to get their attention and they learn from it. And third is we created the assessments which are very skill based. So we don't do any reading based assessments. Since it's a skilling test, so the buddy trainers and the managers are being trained to check on the practical skills. So if it is something like setting up a Bain Mary, we train them how to set up a Bain Mary, and then somebody has to test him on how to set up a Bain Mary, and they capture it on the app. So that's how we are using the technology and leveraging it, and it's creating wonders for us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think one of very important point that you just spoke about is making it accessible in their own languages. There is so much content. I have myself seen close to 15,000 to 20,000 minutes of content that is just sitting there, not being consumed by anybody because it's in English, because it's long, because it's difficult. And that's one of the first problem that I felt that we need to solve. How do you make it bite-sized? How do you convert it into different languages with AI, right? So these meaningful use cases of AI is what will help us truly make it more accessible and increase the completion rates, increase the interest in those sort of content. And we've been talking about consistently about, understanding their job, understanding their role, and getting inside there. Jitendra ji, I would like to understand what role does personalized learning play when you are looking at upscaling the frontline employees and to improve their job performance? Everybody keeps talking about personalization, but what role exactly does it play?
I think so. Personalized training is very important. Just to illustrate the point, there's always a push and pull factor for training. And normally it's the HR department or the manager will push people towards training. I think so. Personalized learning, personalized modules or content will certainly bring in the pull factor. What we have done is we have gone down to the operating managers, down at the shop floor levels of what are the exact models people are looking at, what are the skills they are looking at, and also seeing from various other data which is generated by an organization, looking at those numbers and making the content in that context. I think so that, as I said, we had the concept of Ustadji because normally people start as a mechanic and then they learn from the senior person and obviously graduate over a period of time. So similarly, we built in that kind of a concept where senior workmen were training the incoming fresh workforce, and the content got personalized and one-to-one counseling and mentoring helped.
Nishant, one more question for you. What are the strategies that organizations can implement to create a culture of continuous learning and skill development? So how do we sort of summarize this discussion in a sense of what are some of the definitive things that we should be doing so that we can enable continuous learning, we can enable skill development for frontline workers?
I think very relevant, and what we all as L&D experts fear of is starting an initiative and then that initiative dies down. So sustainability ke liye, what we do in our organization, and I've tried in my previous assignments, but what is working here is a combination of push and pull. So one thing which is very, very important and that I have learned out of my experience is whenever we are designing a strategy, it has to be with the what's in it for me, for the employees. So a lot of times we look at the, we look at the business requirement, which is very, very important. But with 80% of business requirement, I feel that if we bring in 20% of what's in it for me, help these frontline workers achieve their personal goal. So if I am a nurse and I want to get into the administration side, what should I learn, or how should I learn a certain aspect which can probably get me there to that administration role? That is very, very important. So keeping that in mind, and then obviously there are statutory compliance trainings which are important, which is always going to be a push. But to create the pull, I think it's very important for us to understand what these people at the front line need. IDPs are to be developed, but at the same time, with the business context, it has to have that personal context also.
Do you think having more outcome-focused learning where you're mapping particular business outcomes to learning help?
It does, and it makes sense also in the corporate structure. So whenever a training is planned or a learning pathway is designed, it is always important to have the business guys with you so that they can tell you what exactly they want out of this particular training or a learning pathway.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the distinguished panel for providing your insightful knowledge across learning and development. I for myself have gotten a lot of very good insights today in terms of what the future looks like. We all keep talking about AI, we all keep talking about technology disrupting, but what it truly means is how do we enable everybody better, as you were saying, right? How do we bring it to them in form of a mobile interface which works seamlessly at lower networks, which is more catered to their personal growth, their personal journeys, talks about how they can learn from that and how they can grow, also mapping it to particular outcomes that businesses might have, and then understanding their day-to-day jobs and incorporating those learning journeys as a part of those day-to-day responsibilities. And we also spoke about some really interesting concepts like the buddy mapping, right, where you are involving mid-managers and distributing responsibilities for learning and adherence across the pool. Thank you so much for your insights. Really great talking with you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks a lot, everyone, for sharing your experiences. To do the honors, I would like to invite on the dais Ms. Trupti Bes from JLL.